Friedrich Nietzsche's words challenge us to rethink life, strength, and purpose. His timeless quotes inspire self-overcoming and the pursuit of greatness. Let his wisdom guide you to deeper understanding and personal transformation. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process, he does not become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you. Without music, life would be a mistake. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. He who would learn to fly one day must first learn to stand and walk, and run, and climb, and dance. One cannot fly into flying. All things are subject to interpretation. Whichever interpretation prevails at a given time is a function of power and not truth. It is impossible to suffer without making someone pay for it. Every complaint already contains revenge. It is not a lack of love, but a lack of friendship that makes unhappy marriages. We should consider every day lost on which we have not danced at least once. And we should call every truth false, which was not accompanied by at least one laugh. You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist. Thoughts are the shadows of our feelings, always darker, emptier, and simpler. There is always some madness in love, but there is also always some reason in madness. It is always consoling to think of suicide. In that way, one gets through many a bad night. The doer alone learneth. The true man wants two things, danger and play. For that reason, he wants woman as the most dangerous plaything. Character is determined more by the lack of certain experiences than by those one has had. Perhaps I know best why it is man alone who laughs. He alone suffers so deeply that he had to invent laughter. In every real man, a child is hidden that wants to play. Whenever I climb, I am followed by a dog called ego. We love life, not because we are used to living, but because we are used to loving. On the mountains of truth, you can never climb in vain. Either you will reach a point higher up today, or you will be training your powers so that you will be able to climb higher tomorrow. The surest way to corrupt a youth is to instruct him to hold in higher esteem those who think alike than those who think differently. To forget one's purpose is the commonest form of stupidity. Women are considered deep. Why? Because one can never discover any bottom to them. Women are not even shallow. Art raises its head where creeds relax. When marrying, ask yourself this question. Do you believe that you will be able to converse well with this person into your old age? Everything else in marriage is transitory. The demand to be loved is the greatest of all arrogant presumptions. All truly great thoughts are conceived by walking. The man of knowledge must be able not only to love his enemies, but also to hate his friends. The most common lie is that which one lies to himself. Lying to others is relatively an exception. Faith, not wanting to know what is true. Evil men have no songs. How is it that the Russians have songs? We often refuse to accept an idea merely because the tone of voice in which it has been expressed is unsympathetic to us. Do whatever you will, but first be such as are able to will. Madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, nations, and ages, it is the rule. When one has not had a good father, one must create one. I cannot believe in a God who wants to be praised all the time. One should die proudly when it is no longer possible to live proudly. Fear is the mother of morality. The future influences the present just as much as the past. We have art in order not to die of the truth. Convictions are more dangerous foes of truth than lies. The best weapon against an enemy is another enemy. A casual stroll through the lunatic asylum shows that faith does not prove anything. There are no facts, only interpretations. Success has always been a great liar. Many are stubborn in pursuit of the path they have chosen, few in pursuit of the goal. When you look into an abyss, the abyss also looks into you. Whatever is done for love always occurs beyond good and evil. There cannot be a God, because if there were one, I could not believe that I was not he. Blessed are the forgetful, for they get the better even of their blunders. Ah, women, they make the highs higher and the lows more frequent. Those who cannot understand how to put their thoughts on ice should not enter into the heat of debate. In individuals, insanity is rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epochs, it is the rule. The essence of all beautiful art, all great art, is gratitude. One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. Woman was God's second mistake. God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. Yet his shadow still looms. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood off us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? Hope in reality is the worst of all evils, because it prolongs the torments of man. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Go up close to your friend, but do not go over to him. We should also respect the enemy in our friend. Love is blind. Friendship closes its eyes. Insanity in individuals is something rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epochs, it is the rule. When one has finished building one's house, one suddenly realizes that in the process one has learned something that one really needed to know in the worst way before one began. It is not when truth is dirty, but when it is shallow, that the lover of knowledge is reluctant to step into its waters. There is an innocence in admiration. It is found in those to whom it has never yet occurred that they, too, might be admired someday. The great ages, epochs of our life are the occasions when we gain the courage to rebaptize our evil qualities as our best qualities. No one lies so boldly as the man who is indignant. Shared joys make a friend, not shared sufferings. He who cannot give anything away cannot feel anything either. It is the most sensual men who need to flee women and torment their bodies. Germany is a great nation only because its people have so much Polish blood in their veins. In heaven, all the interesting people are missing. Words are but symbols for the relations of things to one another and to us. Nowhere do they touch upon absolute truth. Morality is the herd instinct in the individual. Stupid as a man, say the women. Cowardly as a woman, say the men. Stupidity in a woman is unwomanly. The abdomen is the reason why man does not readily take himself to be a god. For the woman, the man is a means. The end is always the child. Anyone who has declared someone else to be an idiot, a bad apple, is annoyed when it turns out in the end that he isn't. There are various eyes. Even the Sphinx has eyes. And as a result, there are various truths. And as a result, there is no truth. Behind all their personal vanity, women themselves always have an impersonal contempt for woman. This is the hardest of all, to close the open hand out of love and keep modest as a giver. Regarding life, the wisest men of all ages have judged alike. It is worthless. Talking much about oneself can also be a means to conceal oneself. God is a thought who makes crooked all that is straight. Glance into the world just as though time were gone, and everything crooked will become straight to you. Undeserved praise causes more pangs of conscience later than undeserved blame, but probably only for this reason, that our power of judgment are more completely exposed by being overpraised than by being unjustly underestimated. He who fights with monsters might take care lest he thereby become a monster. Is not life 100 times too short for us to bore ourselves? In music, the passions enjoy themselves. Our vanity is hardest to wound precisely when our pride has just been wounded. Love matches, so-called, have illusion for their father and need for their mother. He who laughs best today will also laughs last. In the consciousness of the truth he has perceived, man now sees everywhere only the awfulness or the absurdity of existence, and loathing seizes him. There is not enough love and goodness in the world to permit giving any of it away to imaginary beings. I am a pure-blooded Polish nobleman without a single drop of bad blood. Certainly not German blood. If there is something to pardon in everything, there is also something to condemn. Although the most acute judges of the witches, and even the witches themselves, were convinced of the guilt of witchery, the guilt nevertheless was non-existent. It is thus with all guilt. Our treasure lies in the beehive of our knowledge. We are perpetually on the way thither, being by nature winged insects and honey-gatherers of the mind. Is life not 1,000 times too short for us to bore ourselves? Love is not consolation. It is light. Art is the proper task of life. All credibility, all good conscience, all evidence of truth come only from the senses. I assess the power of a will by how much resistance, pain, torture it endures, and knows how to turn to its advantage. Sleeping is no mean art. For its sake one must stay awake all day. The best author will be the one who is ashamed to become a writer. Whoever despises himself nonetheless respects himself as one who despises. It is my ambition to say in 10 sentences what others say in a whole book. Not necessity, not desire. No, the love of power is the demon of men. Let them have everything: health, food, a place to live, entertainment. They are and remain unhappy and low-spirited, for the demon waits and will be satisfied. I love those who do not know how to live for today. We hear only those questions for which we are in a position to find answers. Mystical explanations are thought to be deep. The truth is that they are not even shallow. One has to pay dearly for immortality. One has to die several times while one is still alive. There is more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy. What is great in man is that he is a bridge and not a goal. There are no eternal facts, as there are no absolute truths. Wit is the epitaph of an emotion. Is man one of God's blunders, or is God one of man's blunders? A pair of powerful spectacles has sometimes sufficed to cure a person in love. There are horrible people who, instead of solving a problem, tangle it up and make it harder to solve for anyone who wants to deal with it. Whoever does not know how to hit the nail on the head should be asked not to hit it at all. A woman may very well form a friendship with a man, but for this to endure, it must be assisted by a little physical antipathy. When art dresses in worn-out material, it is most easily recognized as art. There is nothing we like to communicate to others as much as the seal of secrecy together with what lies under it. All sciences are now under the obligation to prepare the ground for the future task of the philosopher, which is to solve the problem of value, to determine the true hierarchy of values. What then, in the last resort, are the truths of mankind? They are the irrefutable errors of mankind. Today I love myself as I love my God. Who could charge me with a sin today? I know only sins against my God, but who knows my God? Whoever feels predestined to see and not to believe will find all believers too noisy and pushy. He guards against them. In large states, public education will always be mediocre, for the same reason that in large kitchens, the cooking is usually bad. Whoever has provoked men to rage against him has always gained a party in his favor, too. In the last analysis, even the best man is evil. In the last analysis, even the best woman is bad. Admiration for a quality or an art can be so strong that it deters us from striving to possess it. There is in general good reason to suppose that in several respects, the gods could all benefit from instruction by us human beings. We humans are more humane. There is not enough religion in the world even to destroy religion. The aphorism in which I am the first master among Germans are the forms of eternity. My ambition is to say in 10 sentences what everyone else says in a book. What everyone else does not say in a book. Sing me a new song. The world is transfigured. All the heavens are rejoicing. There are slavish souls who carry their appreciation for favors done them so far that they strangle themselves with the rope of gratitude. Necessity is not an established fact, but an interpretation. The lie is a condition of life. This is what is hardest, to close the open hand because one loves. Fanatics are picturesque. Mankind would rather see gestures than listen to reasons. The Christian resolution to find the world ugly and bad has made the world ugly and bad. To use the same words is not a sufficient guarantee of understanding. One must use the same words for the same genus of inward experience. Ultimately, one must have one's experiences in common. Experience, as a desire for experience, does not come off. We must not study ourselves while having an experience. Not when truth is dirty, but when it is shallow. Does the enlightened man dislike to wade into its waters? I still live, I still think, I still have to live, for I still have to think. When one has a great deal to put into it, a day has 100 pockets. What really raises one's indignation against suffering is not suffering intrinsically, but the senselessness of suffering. Genteel women suppose that those things do not really exist, about which it is impossible to talk in polite company. Before the effect, one believes in different causes than one does after the effect. Great indebtedness does not make men grateful, but vengeful. And if a little charity is not forgotten, then it turns into a gnawing worm. Art is not merely an imitation of the reality of nature, but, in truth, a metaphysical supplement to the reality of nature placed alongside thereof for its conquest. In Christianity, neither morality nor religion come into contact with reality at any point. A subject for a great poet would be God's boredom after the 7th day of creation. When one does away with oneself, one does the most estimable thing possible. One thereby almost deserves to live. Every man is a creative cause of what happens, a primum mobile with an original movement. Whoever has witnessed another's ideal becomes his inexorable judge, and as it were, his evil conscience. We do not hate as long as we still attach a lesser value, but only when we attach an equal or a greater value. Is Wagner a human being at all? Is he not rather a disease? He contaminates everything he touches. He has made music sick. A great value of antiquity lies in the fact that its writings are the only ones that modern men still read with exactness. It says nothing against the ripeness of a spirit that it has a few worms. What is good? All that heightens the feeling of power, the will to power, power itself. There is a rollicking kindness that looks like malice. A friend should be a master at guessing and keeping still. You must not want to see everything. The world itself is the will to power, and nothing else. And you yourself are the will to power, and nothing else. At times one remains faithful to a cause only because its opponents do not cease to be insipid. Many a man fails as an original thinker simply because his memory is too good. One often contradicts an opinion when what is uncongenial is really the tone in which it was conveyed. Of all that is written, I love only what a person has written with his own blood. Every church is a stone on the grave of a God-man. It does not want him to rise up again under any circumstances. Idleness is the parent of psychology. In the course of history, men come to see that iron necessity is neither iron nor necessary. Some are made modest by great praise, others insolent. There are no moral phenomena at all, but only a moral interpretation of phenomena. If a woman possesses manly virtues, one should run away from her, and if she does not possess them, she runs away from herself. Thank you for watching.